Alright, so today we're going over an extremely useful prompt, specifically if you're trying to practice your public speaking, or if you have an oral presentation coming up for, academics, or just maybe a job. It doesn't make a difference. This prompt is designed for a specific assignment that you have coming up that involves speaking. So, as you can see here, this is what the prompt looks like. It basically says, you are my oral exam coach. Your job is to prep me for an oral exam by drilling me with realistic questions, role-playing the examiner, grading my answers, and fixing my weak spots. Now, there's a bunch of this, other stuff that you can look at regarding the prompt, but the whole purpose of it is that it's extremely beginner-friendly, easy to use, and just, copy-pastable, hit enter, and it's supposed to be good to go. Now, obviously you can make adjustments if you like, but like I said, it is beginner-friendly and super ready to go as is. Now, what happens when you actually enter the prompt is it's going to start asking you a series of intake questions. It's doing this so they can understand exactly what you are practicing for in this public speaking activity. Typically, it is for something maybe like college or high school or some sort of, oral presentation of some sort. If it is work-related, you may have to prompt it a little differently and tell it, okay, this is for something else. But the whole purpose is to actually provide a grade, so academics kind of is the main point of the prompt, but it can be used for other things as well. So, as you see here, the first intake question states, what subject and level is this? If you are doing a job or something else, you can say, I'm doing it for a job, and it'll probably switch the questions for you to align with that a little better. But as we can see here, what subject and level is this? I'm going to go ahead and answer these questions super quickly. There is a series of them, and we'll go over them super quick once I'm done. I just don't want to spend the entire video going through each of them and taking time. So I'll be right back, and then we'll just skim through it just to show you guys the results. Alright, so I went ahead and answered the series of intake questions, so we're just going to go over them super fast. So it's still producing the actual help that it's going to be doing for us, but as we can see here, just 1 second, it's just so slow. Alright, so as you see here, intake question was, what subject and level is this? So I said college psychology. Then we went on and it asked what topics are included. That's where, now take note, when you're answering these questions, it's best to be as detailed as possible. So if you're doing this for a specific course, specific topic, if you have a rubric, this is where you'd want to be including everything so it understands the context. But it asks us what topics or chapters are included, and because I'm not actually doing this, I just went ahead and just said personality disorders at large. It then asks, what's the oral exam format? I said B for presentation and a Q&A, but obviously answer this according to your situation. Intake number 4 asks, how long is the oral exam and when is it? I said 5 minutes next Friday. Then it asks, what kind of answers does your teacher want? Either short, direct, detailed explanations, or mixed. I just said mixed. Then we see here any rules. I just said must use DSM references and professional sources, no notes, and cite research, but I said cute research. That's incorrect, but I meant to say cite research. Then we see here, what are your 3 weakest areas? I just said DSM criteria and remembering sources. So this is where, just like I said, being as descriptive as possible will be to your benefit to get the most out of this prompt. Then we see here, how strict should I be? I just said be direct. So then it goes on and says, I'll build around a 5-minute college-level presentation plus Q&A with DSM-5 language, professional sources, and short answer structures you can actually speak without notes. So then we go here, and it says the topic, and it goes over the core answer framework. So 10 to 20 second answer structure, use this. Define it, name the DSM idea, give one example. It goes over what we could be saying to actually plan our presentation in a proper manner. So, for instance, personality disorders are long-term, inflexible patterns of thinking, feeling, and relating that differ from cultural expectations and cause distress or impairment. So, as you see here, it just gives us how we should basically start our presentation, and we can even show it and respond to it with what we're actually doing for our presentation if we already have notes prepared. But this is giving us something that we can practice on our own, based on whatever it is that we're actually covering, in this case, personality disorders. So then, for instance, it goes here and says how to handle I don't know. It says I'm not fully sure on the exact wording, but the DSM idea is that the pattern must be long-term, inflexible, and impair functioning. So it's giving us rebuttals for the Q&A. Then we get key points list. So the top 15 most testable points. These are things that would probably be probably be looked at in the case that we're doing a presentation. So things that we should be mentioning in our presentation to get a good grade. Then we can scroll down here. It goes over all of that, gives us 5 examples that we can reuse, and then a question bank, 20 likely exam questions. So things that would likely be involved in this oral presentation that we'd once again want to be covering. So what is a personality disorder? That should be covered. What is cluster A, B, C? All different aspects, depending on what the context of the oral exam is preparing us for that. In this case, it's not particularly a presentation, it's preparing us for an oral exam where you might be asked questions and have to actually respond in real time, but you understand the purpose here. So then again, 5 curveball questions, how to prepare for these types of things for your oral exam. And then finally, a grading rubric that is creating on its own to prepare us for this practice session. Then we get a mini presentation structure, so the opening, the DSM overview, the cluster example, the clinical caution, and the closing. So as you see here, that's pretty much how it goes. And then it'll ask, when you're ready, say start oral exam, and I'll begin examiner mode with 1 question at a time. So this is how you can actually practice in real time with ChatGPT. And if you wanted to, you can probably even just use voice mode if you like. But if you wanted to just, practice normally and go one by one, I'll show you exactly how this works. So start oral exam, and it'll actually begin testing us for this specifically. So in your own words, what is a personality disorder according to the DSM-5 TR? So then I would go ahead and say this out loud, practice aloud, and then respond through text or voice mode, depending on what you prefer, and then it'll give us a breakdown if that was good enough. So it's helpful, once again, to practice aloud because you will be doing an oral presentation. This is how you'll be going back and forth, and then type what you were saying as you go, so it's in your own words, and it can give us a breakdown if it was good or not. Once again, you can even use this little dictate mode if you wanted to do that more specifically, instead of going directly into voice mode. In my opinion, that would probably be more helpful than typing it, because it'll hear your voice in real time and get the gist if you actually understand what you're talking about, and if the time frame matches what you're being tested on. So once again, if you guys want to steal this prompt, you can get it from the description of the video or the pinned comment. Once you have it, you simply copy, hit paste, hit enter into ChatGPT, answer the series of intake questions as descriptively as possible, and then you're pretty much good to go. You'll be able to practice whatever oral presentation or oral exam you have coming up, and get the most out of it so that you can practice and actually get a good grade. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and have a nice day.